Great song by Nick Lowe, Cruel to Be Kind, and it seems like artificial intelligence is, in some ways, cruel to be kind. 7:43 here on the Joe Piscopo Show. Al Gattullo and Joe Sibilia sitting in for Joe, who is on vacation, sort of, but business. He's in Vegas, he'll be in Indiana tomorrow, and then he's back in New York on Monday. But right now joining us and talking about artificial intelligence, Carl Szabo, Vice President and General Counsel for NetChoice and a professor of Internet Law at the George Mason Antonin Scalia Law School. Carl, it is Al Gattullo and Joe Sibilia. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Carl, what danger does artificial intelligence present to our national security and also to our workforce?
Yeah, great question. So AI is on the top of everyone's mind. It is allegedly going to be the end of the world, or it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. It, in reality, kind of lands somewhere in the middle. It's a tool like any, and it is going to change the world. And the question is out there, better or worse. So right now, AI is being used for great good. It's being used by doctors to better identify cancer than even a doctor can. It's being used to identify potential at-risk births. And it's being used to help get the old and infirm around with driverless cars. But at the same time, AI is being weaponized by our enemies, foreign and abroad, foreign and domestic, to attack our cybersecurity infrastructures. Right. It is being weaponized to enable China to become the world leader in the next decade if they are the first to innovate in AI. So really, right now, we are at the beginning. But the greatest threat to all of us is over-aggressive government regulation that will clamp down on the amazing ability of AI and simultaneously will put America on its back foot in a competitive advantage as the rest of the world continues to innovate, expand, and develop the next decade of technology.
And Carl, Vice President Kamala Harris is supposed to be meeting with the CEOs of Google and Microsoft as well as two other companies on the subject of AI. What do you think the vice president is going to accomplish with this meeting?
You know, this is actually one of those scary things I was just mentioning about. We've already seen what the vice president has done as border czar. The last thing we want is for her to be the czar of AI or anything else. And we are already seeing actions from the Biden administration, from a lot of Democrats, to try and seize control of AI, control the messaging, control the way it produces results. When it comes to computers, it's actually one of the best tools because it can actually judge us not based on our race, not based on our ethnicity, not based on our height, but on the quality of our character and on our deeds and our merits. And that actually scares a lot of people in the administration who are saying, well, we need to make sure we account for all the diversity, equity, and inclusion needs that we have, not necessarily whether somebody is in the best credit score, as Grover's going to talk about in a couple of minutes, or otherwise. And so that's the real danger, is we're starting to see a lot of people in the administration and in Congress try to seize control of AI to try and advance their own narrative, not what is necessarily in the best interest of American innovation or development of this amazing technology.
We're talking with Carl Szabo, the Vice President and General Counsel for NetChoice. He's also a professor of Internet Law at the George Mason Antonin Scalia Law School here on the Joe Piscopo Show. Al Gattullo and Joe Sibilia sitting in for Joe, who is away today. He will be back on Monday. So, Carl, what can the United States do to ensure that other nations don't surpass our tech leadership?
America has always been the leader in technology, and that's because we have a light touch approach. Europe is a great counterpoint. You see a lot of people in this administration saying we should be more like Europe. Well, when it comes to Europe's tech sector, I say the exact opposite. There is no technology in Europe. Everything in Europe is American-made for all intents and purposes. And that's because Europe says you have to get permission before you do something. In America, you're actually allowed to operate. We have freedoms here in America, and that's what we need today. Now, at the same time, industry can create some general guidelines, and the three that I kind of lay out are transparency, accountability, and security. Transparency, tell people when they're engaging with an AI. Accountability, every existing law applies to AI just like it would anything else. And security, make sure that when people are providing information, that data is kept secure, especially when it comes to things like business records or confidential proprietary information. So transparency, accountability, and security should be some good guidelines, but that should come from industry, not from the government, because we need innovation at the speed of technology, not at the speed of government.
Carl, this is Joe Sibilia here. Now, obviously, this is why they call this science fiction. But if you talk about AI, people tend to have flashbacks to the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, I think, where they think of this computer and how it sort of attacks these people and overtakes human society. Is this a valid concern when talking about AI and how advanced this could become? Is this something we really need to be concerned about, or is that truly just pure science fiction?
First of all, fun fact about HAL, it's IBM, just one letter backwards. And the thing about this is, we have Terminator, we have HAL, we have all these examples of AI gone bad. But the thing is, we've heard these same concerns whenever we have a new technology. When cars first came on the road, on roads, you had people by law required to walk in front of them with red flags to make sure that walkers and carriage drivers didn't get hit. So is there a threat? Absolutely. But what we need to do is essentially look at what is the harm we're trying to stop. If we don't want Terminators, then we need to focus on let's not make Terminators, as opposed to let's ban the technology. If we're worried about people getting hit by cars, we don't say we ban cars. We have rules on keeping people safe. So that's the way we've always operated, not on this may happen, so let's ban the technology, let's ban the innovation. Instead, we identify the harm and we work backwards. At the same time, our adversaries have nothing to limit them. So let's not pretend like if we kneecap ourselves that foreign adversaries, cyber attackers, and China are not trying to do this level of innovation. And at the end of the day, if we kneecap ourselves, then we will now become dependent on them, and we will put America in a less secure position than it is today.
Carl, I got about 30 seconds here, and we're talking with Carl Szabo, Vice President and General Counsel for NetChoice. He's also a professor of Internet Law at the George Mason Antonin Scalia Law School. I got about 30 seconds here, Carl. Do you think that we have developed this technology too quickly, or we're right along the path that we should be?
I think we're exactly right along the path that we should be, because at the end of the day, the free market works. People vote with their feet. If products break, if features become too woke, people will vote with their feet. They will abandon it. And frankly, businesses will not develop technology if the profit motive isn't there. And so that's really the guiding principle, and that is what will help keep everything reined in appropriately.
All right. Sounds good. Carl, thank you so much for giving us a couple of minutes. Carl Szabo, Vice President, General Counsel for NetChoice, Professor of Internet Law at the George Mason Antonin Scalia Law School. We really appreciate it here on the Joe Piscopo Show. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Same to you guys.
You got it. All right. Hey, some interesting stuff. I still haven't really dived into it. I would like to explore it a little bit more. I just feel like it would become a crutch for me. In writing things and doing stuff,
definitely,
et cetera. I think there are benefits to it. Carl says we're right along the right path. I'm
it's a
sort of agreeing with him.
It's a fascinating technology. Again, we were talking yesterday about computer graphics and how that progressed. I mean, there's so much promise with this. It'll be interesting to see how it could be used for good.
Absolutely. Another look at traffic with Kristen North.